Aminatou, the fateshifter. She's an esper planeswalker commander for converted mana cost 3 and comes into play with 3 loyalty counters. Her +1 ability is to draw a card and then put any card from your hand on top of your library. And her -1 is exile target permanent you own, not necessarily control, and then return it to the battlefield under your control. Now in this Aminatou deck tech video we are going to be focusing a lot on her +1 and -1 ability. Her ultimate is something that I don't think you should go for, but I might as well read it. Choose left or right. Each player gains control of all non-land permanents except Aminatou the fateshifter, controlled by that player, and you basically just rotate own control of all permanents in just one big random direction. And then the idea is that you use her -1 ability to regain those permanents. I don't think that is a valid strategy to go for. You might just consider that she has no ultimate ability whatsoever, but in the rare case of that actually would happen, then sure, it could be a cool thing. If you're only controlling lands, then you're probably going to get the advantage of the trade. Let's begin with talking about her -1 ability. So this is basically a E to B cutesy control thing. So with your Trinket Mage, you cast your Trinket Mage and find your Mana Vault. And then you activate Aminatou and flicker Trinket Mage and find your Altar of the Brood. And then when you have your Altar of the Brood, you can cast your Felidar Guardian. And the trick is that you exile Aminatou. With your Felidar Guardian, she comes back, and you activate her minus ability to exile Felidar Guardian. Now these two cards will now sit here and flicker each other, and each time they do this, Altar of the Brood will put the top card of each opponent's library into their graveyard, and you will infinitely mill all your opponents. Because Aminatou is your commander, it is considered a 2-card combo. But also, that ability could be utilized in a lot of more ways, just for grindy purpose. Oath of Liliana. So when this oath comes into play, each opponent sacrifices a creature card, and that is not terrible. It is something that we can reuse over and over with Aminatou. So you -1, exile this, and then it comes back into play. And now each opponent are forced to sacrifice another creature once more, and you can sit there and do this over and over. And if for some reason they would kill Aminatou, send it to the command zone, and you recast it for 5 mana, then Oath of Liliana will trigger, and you will get a 2/2 zombie. That is cute, that is definitely a blocker, and well, sometimes blockers are good. If you are playing on a budget, you could consider Trial of Ambition. But if you're not playing on a budget, you should consider Treachery. It's a 5 mana cost creature aura that untaps 5 land cards, and you gain control of that creature card. And with Aminatou, you are able to untap 5 land cards with this enchantment. You could still enchant the same creature card and steal it back again, but the thing is that you untap 5 land cards, so that becomes a really powerful ritual. Now you might be sitting there and considering playing some nasty cool creature cards like Vidalcan Plotter. So when Vidalcan Plotter comes into play, you will swap a land card with an opponent, and they will gain control of that land card, and with Aminatou you can return that land card to your control again. So you're basically sitting here flickering this, flickering your own lands that you own, and stealing lands from your opponents. That is terrible, I do not think that is good. Mule Drifter is a staple in casual, and definitely only a casual card. 3 mana to draw 2 cards in sorcerer speed is not that great, and even if you consider flickering it with Aminatou, that is still bad. The same thing with Seagate Oracle, also quite slow. 3 mana cost to draw 1 card from 2 options isn't great, not good enough. I will say the same thing about Grey Merchant and Gonti Lord of Luxury. Sure, it's kinda cute that you can value flicker them with your esper commander. However, these 2 cards are not good on their own and not worthy to be put into the 99. I should go ahead and mention that with your esper commander you can flicker the mana vault and skipping the upkeep cost of paying 4 mana for it. But also, I should mention that Spellseeker is quite good with Aminatou. You can flicker her and find more Brainstorms, Preordains and Serum Visions. But also, of course, Snapcaster Mage. You can also flicker Snapcaster Mage to recast those Brainstorms from your graveyard. But also, you should definitely consider Galen Elendra Archmage. For 1 blue mana, you can sacrifice it to negate something, counter target non-creature spell. And then it comes back into play with a -1/- counter because of persist. And with your commander, you can flicker this fairy wizard and remove that -1/- counter. But also, don't forget Recruiter of the God. You can search your library for a creature card with toughness 2 or less, and this is going to find these 3 creature cards and some other cool stuff. Now let's talk about this little girl's first ability. Draw a card and then put whatever card you wish on top of your deck. And that will make a miracle card like Temporal Mastery quite auto-included, because you will activate her ability and put this card on top of your deck, and that will be the miracle card you cast for 2 mana and take an extra turn. That is quite good. Another miracle card that I'd actually consider quite okay and quite playable is Entreat the Angels. So for 2 white mana and then X, create X 4/4 white angel creature tokens with flying. That is definitely a good backup plan. You could empty all your mana into it, and that will definitely create a win con. Even in competitive EDH, that is to be considered quite strong stat line. Now with good top deck manipulations, a card like Predict becomes quite good. Choose a card name, then target player puts the top card of their library into their graveyard. If the card has the chosen name, you draw 2 cards, otherwise you draw a card. But that also means that you can throw away cards that you don't desire. You put a card on top of your deck and then cast Predict to remove that card. A card like Death Grip. Now Death Grip is a quite situational card. For 2 black mana, counter target green spell. That is quite specific. In some matchup, this is a useless card and will do nothing. And with Aminatou, you can fix it. You can put it on top of your deck and then throw it away somehow. Either with Predict or you use a fetch land. Crack it. First you activate Aminatou's ability and put Death Grip on top of your deck. And then you crack your Verdant Catacombs and shuffle your library and send Death Grip randomly into your deck. Now with Aminatou, you should play as much fetch lands as you can, and the only fetch land that you can't play is Wooded Foothills. Any fetch land that will find either a swamp, island or plain can be played, and Verdant Catacombs will find you a swamp. However, you shouldn't fill your entire deck with situational cards. You should play and choose specific ones that you think will be great, like Massacre. Usually, Arcane Laboratory is great. It will shut down a lot of decks, but sometimes it doesn't do anything and then you can toss it away. Volcanic Eruption will destroy a bunch of mountains. Dose, counter target red spell, that is quite good. Insight, whenever an opponent casts a green spell, you may draw a card. By the way, people, I have a primary on this adaptive playstyle. You could call it hand sculpting. In this section, you have a bunch of looters, a bunch of cards that are great at drawing cards and then discarding away cards that you don't need. And in this area, you have a bunch of situational cards, cards that will be great in specific situations. And the idea and concept is that you're trying to adapt your deck, adapt your hand and sculpt your hand and evolve towards what you're going up against, to have a great deck that is good against a lot of different situations. And down here in the corner, you have a bunch of suggested possible commanders, and Aminatou is one of them. She is definitely a hand sculptor, you could call it. And in the description below of this video, you will find a deck list of Aminatou, how I've currently built it. But also, you will find a link to this hand sculpting primary I'm showcasing right now. Now we have reached the end of this tutorial, this deck tech, and Aminatou, in my opinion, has a lot of things going for her. She has a lot of neat and cute effect. The flickering part where she can grind against her opponents by flickering something like Oath of Liliana, but also use that ability to combo and win with Felidar Guardian, and something that ETB triggers and or leaves the battlefield triggers, but also the part where she can set up miracle effects, like this thing, to take extra turns, but also hand sculpting your hand and throwing away cards like Insight and then activating a fetch land or a demonic tutor or anything that shuffles your library to throw Insight away into your deck. So I think Aminatou has a lot of cutesy, neat things that's going for her. In any case, I hope you enjoyed the video and I hope you learned something from it. Take care everyone, and I'll see you guys in the next video.